Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up MySQL server on Google Cloud platform, and for this we will make use of Compute Engine. You can also use Cloud SQL, but we will do this with the help of Compute Engine VM. Now I have created this account with free credits and also created a project, enabled the billing. I can also activate and upgrade the current account if I want to, but for now we will just use this particular set of free credits. Now let's go to top navigation menu, then click on Compute Engine and then click on VM instances. Now here you will find that you have VM instance and you can choose to create a new instance. Right on the left hand side you will have particular configurations and setting for that VM. Now if you go by this default method of creating everything from scratch, you will have to pick a boot disk where you will have to choose the Linux version, and then you will have to manually install MySQL if you choose to go this way. But another option is to directly go to marketplace. When you click on it, it will open this drawer. Then click on price where you have to set this for free. Next you will have to search for MySQL, then hit enter and you will have MySQL database loaded. Right now here you will be presented with multiple options. Right, you will have variety of databases listed as well, but we have to focus on MySQL. This one is set by Google. Then there is two by DevNami. One MySQL DevNami, then MySQL with replication by DevNami. Right. Also there is MySQL 8 with CodeLab for Google as well. There is also Percona's distribution of MySQL. Right. So I will just directly go to MySQL by Google. Right now we will wait for it to show the pricing, and here as you can see pricing is pretty cheap. We will just reduce the CPU to 1 CPU and 4 GB memory if that is possible. Now I will try to push these configuration to our instance. Let's click again and it should take us to that particular instance. Now it will load and check the APIs, and here you see the instance name and zone. So instance name, you can see this MySQL -1, then there is zone, then you have machine type, general purpose or compute optimized, then there is E2 series of CPUs. I will choose the machine type where you can see I have 1 CPU and 4 GB memory option, so I selected that. Now this reduces the pricing from 4,000 to 2,000 in my case. In your case it could be different. If you want you can also go below that, choose 1 CPU 2 GB memory, but I think that would be overkill. Right, but very small configuration for MySQL to run. Right, with this OS Debian you will be installing MySQL client, community server and MySQL server. So these are some of the things that we would be setting it up. Right, next thing is we have firewall. Right, we can allow traffic from the internet for a particular port, in this case 3306. Right, you can set up other network settings. I will keep everything for default. I can also enable stack driver for monitoring purpose if I want to, but I will skip that considering this is test machine. Right, so all the features you can see, you can go through everything. In this particular instance I'm keeping the default deployment name as is, so MySQL -1 I'm keeping it, then zone Europe-West 6-A I'm keeping it. Next is machine type, I will be keeping the CPU E2 series as is, and there is machine type like I explained. I can go for micro instance, but I will be keeping medium one with 2 CPU and 4 GB memory. Right, so that's one of the things I will be changing here. Is if I can go with 10, I think it won't be letting me choose that. So if it does, then go for it. So this size cannot be less than 20, so we may have to revert back, right? So pretty much we are limited on that part. So all the configuration done. This is one click setup, so not a lot to configure. So we will hit deploy. Once deployed, it should start one instance in compute engine area, and this is the deployment manager where you will be seeing the type of script it will install, right? So currently it is expanding on those Python scripts. As you can see, we get our MySQL root user and root password. If we go to our navigation menu and then compute engine, you can also find VM instance here. So pretty much a lot of settings you get to edit once it is runnable. So here, if I expand on current instance, it should show me the IP address, ephemeral IP address that we need to access this database. Now if I choose this database and if I use this particular username and password, I would be able to connect it through, let's say, something like Azure Data Studio or even MySQL Workbench, right? The most easier way to connect would be just copy this into your instance, right, and then give the password. I will copy this, right, and for that what we can do is we will open the instance of this particular server in SSH, right? So SSH in browser should let us connect to MySQL server, right? So I'll be opening it in new window, right? Once open, I will have to use the below command mysql-u root-p, then use the password allocated for this particular root user, right? And considering this is a test machine, I won't be changing the password, considering I will be showing you how to destroy the instance once your use is finished. Now here you see we have Linux user name with my name and then the instance name, right? So what I can do is I will type in this mysql-u then root-p. So I'll be entering the password after this. So just paste password, hit enter, and it will connect you to MySQL server. Now here you can write the commands to create the database, right? So let's say create database, let's name this MyDB and use semicolon, and we have our database, right? Then we can also create table inside this MyDB database, right? We can also take a look at how many database we have. Now let's see if I type in show databases and use semicolon, hit enter, and that should show you the list of databases in your current instance of MySQL. So you have information schema, MyDB, MySQL, performance schema, and sys. So these are some of the databases we have along with the new one that we created. So I can use MyDB and then use semicolon and database change. So now I can directly work on that MyDB database, right? So if I use say create table and let's name this demo, I will use id integer, primary key, and name varchar 50 and or 500. Nobody cares considering this is just a demo, right? And name, and let's say age, use comma there, then age integer, right? And if I use semicolon at the end to create this, it should create a table. Now I can use select query on this table, so I will use select all from and then demo. Considering this is the end of query, you have empty set, right? Currently you can use describe, so I'm not sure if that should show any describe demo, right? And then you have explanation of id being integer, primary key, right, name varchar, and so on. I can even insert some data and work as usual. At the end I can exit out using exit query from both the MySQL shell as well as from this instance of our deployment. Now once everything is done, I can go to my instance, right? I will select that, right? So we have to select the instance. Now I will select the instance, click delete, and that should delete the instance. Once the instance is deleted, next I will go for deployment, and within deployment manager I want to delete the deployment as well. So like two things will be deleted, so anything that is remained will be deleted by deployment manager. So we don't want any form of remnants that are active and causing the billing, right? So we are taking care of that part. One more thing, make sure to also remove any resource group. So you may have to select the deployment, click delete, and say delete all resources, VM, load balancer, disk, and delete all, right? That should do the work. Once deleted, we are pretty much done with our demonstration of how to deploy your MySQL server on Google Cloud, and also clean up at the end as well.